Hey, Matt Adams here, dating and relationship coach in Boston, Massachusetts. I've been actively coaching now for 10 years, and yesterday, or a couple days ago, a friend contacted me and had a question for me. His initial question is not exactly what he wanted my opinion on, but we'll get into it. So I've got the chat here pulled up on my iPad, and I'm just going to kind of read through it and make some comments. So he first asks me, what are my thoughts on the age differences in dating? And I asked if she's older or younger than him, and he's 42 and she's 20. So my first question to him was, is she out for money? He says no. And then he followed up with, she makes the same amount of money as he does, they're co-workers, and they found themselves together, sitting next together at a work event. So that's the situation. So my next question for him was, how do you know she's attracted to you and not just giving you attention? Now, the reason I asked that is because a lot of guys can't tell the difference between when a woman is just being friendly and giving him attention and when she's actually interested in him and flirting with him. So we'll go into it a little bit, and I'm going to start reading some of the stuff here that he wrote about the situation. I had the good fortune of sitting next to her at dinner with everyone last night. Every once in a while her leg would bump against mine, and she never moved it away, and she didn't make it seem like I was intruding her space. So let's take that in and of itself. Without knowing anything more about the situation, I'm assuming that's all that happened, or he probably would have mentioned some other things that happened. As far as I'm concerned, that's called incidental touching. That in and of itself is just how the incident happened. It doesn't really say anything about her interest or not in you. It's not what I would call an indicator of interest. She is not doing anything to indicate to you directly that she is interested in you. This is just how the situation was. She was close. Maybe she couldn't move away. I don't know if you knew that or not. I don't have any more details as to how close people were on the other side of her, how much space she had. But that in and of itself, and you not telling me anything else about the situation. Was she touching your arm? Was she looking at you? Was she smiling? Anything else? Was she playing with her hair? Was she touching her face like this? Any of those indicators of interest, all clustered together, would tell me that she was more interested in you. But right now, I don't see any of that. I just see this one thing, which to me, again, it's not an indicator of interest. It's just incidental touching. Let's move on a bit. And so my next question for him was anything more direct. General talk at the table, didn't really engage her one-on-one. I did ask her a few questions and what she liked to drink. How long has she been with the company? He goes on, end of the night, when everyone split, she gave me a nice side hug and a little rub on the back and leaned her head on my shoulder. Never gotten a hug before. Okay, so again, this isn't really a strong indicator of interest. This is just, paired with the other thing, it's just she's comfortable with you. She's comfortable in your presence, which it's a good thing. It means you haven't creeped her out yet. I hope you don't, but that's what it means. So she's at least comfortable being in your presence. She's not exactly close to him. They work for the same company, but they're not exactly in the same office. They do see each other once a week. And he says she's got killer eyes and he gets spellbound of them. Okay, pull that back. I get it. You see this young, wonderful, beautiful girl. He sends a picture of her here. She's actually quite attractive. Pull back from that, because if you get stuck in that mindset of like imagining yourself with this girl, your imagination is going to run away with you. You're going to be caught in future thinking. You're not going to be present in the moment when you're with her. And that's where you need to focus on being. You can't get caught in that future thinking, because what it's going to do is detract you from paying attention to her in the moment and leading her potentially into something more romantic if she is in fact interested in something like that, which you don't know. I said, why do you want to pursue this girl? And he says, only once in my life have I felt attraction like this. Okay, so again, you got to pull yourself back. You can't get caught in future thinking. You can't just, here's what happens. We get this like dose of oxytocin, and it takes over our brain. We start thinking differently. We start acting differently. If you cannot control that, what I mean is, you don't control the chemical getting released into your brain. You control your actions when the chemical is released into your brain. It's like, if you take a few shots of whiskey and you're still able to walk the line on the street, you know what I mean? Like, you have to be able to control your actions despite the influence of oxytocin. That's important, because that's when you start to mess up. That's when you start to behave in ways that are unattractive, and you get, a little bit too close, a little bit too soon, and you do things that push her away, and that's not what you want. So it's pretty dangerous to just kind of lead with that feeling and see how it all turns out. You have to be smart about this. You have to be calculating. You have to know the steps that you're going to go through, and it takes a little bit of time to explain that. That's not really the purpose of this video, but you have to know what to do next. You can't just, oh, I feel this way and I'm going to go for it. It doesn't work. You got to be calculated. You have to be smart about things, and you have to be able to work through the emotions that you feel and still do the right steps. He says there was something in the hug that just felt like she was sending me a message. All right, so this is you inventing a thought. You don't know if that was her intention. All you know is that that's the thought that you invented. So let's take that out of the equation, because we don't know if it's true. Remember I said we have to be calculating, right? How are we going to be calculating if we just go with that thought and we assume that that's true? Now, there's two different things here. You have to, look, I don't have enough information about this. I don't know if it's true. But you have to act as if it is. Meaning, if you act like she's attracted to you, that will help attract her to you. Does that make sense? If you act like she's attracted to you, that will help attract her to you. Okay? But you do not know if this is true yet, so you cannot believe it until you have more evidence. All right? Calculating. Okay? He also goes on to say that this attraction, it's this strong attraction that he's feeling is what has his guard up. I get that because of what I said earlier. You have to be calculating with this. You cannot just let yourself run away with it. You've got to know what you're doing, and you've got to make very strategic moves. So I understand that. So he talks a little bit about the age difference. She's 20 and he's got a daughter that's 12. I get that. That seems a little too close for your comfort. I completely understand that. And you've got to make a decision that you have to live with. If you pursue this girl, you have to be 100% okay with the age difference, and you have to find a way to justify it in your head. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm not here to make a judgment. I'm going to leave that up to you. What I will say is that there are situations where this can work to your advantage. Here are some things that play out in relationships like that. So when there's a younger woman, you can often be her leader. You can, not in a fatherly way, but you can be a guide to her through life. When she comes up against situations, you don't want to treat her like your daughter, you want to treat her like your equal, but you give her information and ways to handle that and help her through that and guide her through it. Now, women tend to love men's leadership, okay? Unless they have a problem with men, they're angry with them, whatever. We're not talking about that. But women tend to love men's leadership. They like when a man plans a date, when he picks where he wants to go, when he knows what they're going to have, and if he asks her ahead of time, hey, what are you looking at on the menu? What are you going to order? And then the waiter comes over and he orders for her. Little things like that. When you're crossing the street, you take her hand and you put yourself in front of her, and then when you get to the middle lane, you switch to the other side of her and you lead her across the rest of the street. You got your hand on her, the small of her back. Women love that leadership in men. And so you have an opportunity in that kind of relationship to be that person and to have that dynamic in the relationship. So I ask a couple more questions, if she's single, and then I talk about social acceptance. So I know I just brought this up, but let me get a little bit deeper into that. People are going to look at you, okay? And you have to decide how you feel about that. And if you act like it's weird, right? If you act like it's weird, she's going to act like it's weird too. If you're just okay with it and you're like, those are people, I don't care what they say, she's going to have an easier time following your lead with that. She may have some struggles with it. That's not out of the realm of possibilities. But you're going to make it easier for her to follow your lead. This is something that we can just let go, honey. It's not that bad. Don't worry about it. And maybe, make some jokes about it. If it really bothers her, then listen and hear her out and let her vent to you. Or else, I had one more thought about that. What the hell was it? Oh yeah. So social acceptance, right? When you do have a relationship like this, do not surprise anybody in your life with this by showing up to their doorstep with her. This is the kind of thing that you have to give people advance notice about. Hey, I'm seeing someone, here's the age difference, and how do you feel about that? And have a conversation with them about that, and then start to ease them into it, okay? There's a lot of times where these relationships form and people don't tell other people in their lives, and when those other people in their lives find out about it, all of a sudden it's such a shock and it's so hard to grasp and take in. And when you have a buffer time, it's a lot easier for them to accept that, and you give them the space to say, okay, well, he's crazy about this girl, and he doesn't seem too out of his mind because he's able to talk about it and say, look, this is how I feel and this is how she feels. And when you can rationalize it out because you've taken the time to think about how you feel about it, other people will be more accepting. Now, that's not to say everyone will. Some people will, they might say, that's absolutely unacceptable. What the hell are you doing, Colin? Codename Colin. Have you lost your mind? That you have to be prepared to handle too, okay? Is there a right way to handle it? Yes. Is there a wrong way to handle it? Yes. Let them feel what they're feeling, Let them vent to you. And how they feel about it is not how you have to feel about it. You understand? When you feel your own way about it and you're fine with that, then it's up to other people to either accept that or not. And if they don't, and if they need to walk away from you because that's just something that they can't accept, that doesn't sound like a very good person to have in your life anyway. But I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about this situation. So let's get back into it. I asked if she's single and said that she didn't have anybody else at the dinner. And I said, are you absolutely sure? And he said that she talked about some ex-boyfriends, and she implied that she didn't have a boyfriend. But the mother had a boyfriend, so whatever. You can't date the mom, huh? Okay, so that was it with him. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. And I'm starting a class for men and a class for women soon. I'm doing this separately. So if you like what I have to say, if you've listened to what I had to say on my wall, you participate in some of the conversations, and you want some education and coaching and training in regards to dating and relationships, I'm here to help. It is my goal in life to create more love in the world, and the way that I do that is to help you create love in your life. So get in my inbox, message me if you want to join the class, and I will see you soon. Thanks so much for watching. Have a good night. Bye-bye.